Oh, good. Let's get. Oh, no, this is
It's not.
Carl.
Okay.
Julie's,
Julie's friend?
I think, relative. Yes.
You're muted.
Carl
Okay.
is her son, but she's 3 hours away from Portland with her, everybody, with all the people in Portland that are related to her. I mean, like all of them. I don't know. Is Carl there?
Yeah.
Hey, Carl.
Carl. Hey,
Yeah, Billy or the
welcome. We're just about to begin, so Drew is going to lead us off with a poem.
Okay. It is yours, Drew.
Okay, looking forward 2025. Within the midst of December's darkness, behind the shuttered fastened door, the remnant of a closet wardrobe, clothes tried on, worn, and ignored. Memory of friends come and gone, and incidents throughout the months filter through our tinted lenses and foggy now. What was clear once. Vivid reminders of sadness and joys, closing the doors on ups and downs. Let not our losses turn to rust, but burst forth into new compounds. Time for outreach to family and friends, perhaps left in neglect or in the rush. Rekindle the bonds for future connections before smoldering flames fade to blush. Leave behind the last 12 months, enter a new year with childlike mind, become the beacon meant to shine, and tighten the threads that intertwine. For if days ahead challenge our grit, kindness communities can be our grace. And in mirroring our own reflections, find humanity in each other's face. Let us be the lights of compassion for those alike and on differing tracks. Seek in shadows a common accord. Begin repair with benevolent acts.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's on the Facebook page if you want to access it.
So again,
Saturday
Saturday Sangha,
Sangha is the group.
Facebook, and YouTube. Okay, so Bonnie, you're in the middle of a series that I've started offering that's taken me in some new directions personally, and that is beginning to understand what happens when you approach your meditation from the perspective that God is energy. And what I mean by God is energy, a Lutheran theologian of the 20th century, Paul Tillich, said God is the ground of our being. And what is the ground of our being? What is it that everything that exists shares? And the answer we know on a scientific level is everything we're looking at is energy. So what does knowing that sacred reality mean? And the first way that we begin to experience that sacred energy is as sensation. So it happens in our body. And probably our purest connection with the sacred is that sensory connection. It's very limited, but it is the way energy begins to take shape, begins to take form, and we begin to see it as something we can relate to. And to give you a sense of that, I use the example of photographs from space, which show us different nebulas taken through 4 different filters. And you look at it through X-ray, through infrared, through ultraviolet, and what's the other one? I can't think of it right now. But anyhow, each one gives a different picture. And that's what our senses do. It gives us a different scape of what we're looking at. So we begin to take that energy in, the energy of the external world hits our bodies, and we feel something. We feel a response to it, and energy moves in us. The same way with the energy of breath, prana, we begin to experience that life force energy, which every spiritual tradition has a word for, because you can feel on the in-breath. Picked up a reading this week that every out-breath is a small dying, a letting go. So we take in fresh energy, we let go of old stale energy. There's exchange of energy that we begin to know intimately through the breath. Now, what we've been doing the past couple before today is to begin to look at energies that we generate in response to this energy that's coming into us. And those things are emotions and thoughts. And we tend not to think of emotions as energy, but you know when you get triggered, when someone does something that is scary to you, you have an immediate flood of energy. Now that energy is not coming from the outside world. It's not even necessarily coming from what's happening now. What that's coming from is all the associations that your brain has made as it has lived through its life. So the thing we want to focus on today is how the brain assigns meaning. We tend to think that meaning is inherent in the experience, and it is potentially, but not the way we experience it. And this is what we mean by the conditioned mind. The conditioned mind means that I'm receiving this energy that I could be using to live if I could bring it in and let it out like a breath. That reciprocity, which is the loving connection with life. But instead, it comes in and it hits something, and all of a sudden I'm caught in a loop. And that's a loop of thought, a loop of emotion, and they're self-reinforcing. Because notice how when you think certain thoughts, that also generates emotions and generates energy. So we need to begin to distinguish between the energy that is a part of the life that we're receiving, that we're a part of, and the part that I'm overlaying on it. So what our minds do once they get a hold of it is we start a storyline, we start an interpretation of why we're experiencing what we're experiencing that takes us even further from reality. Does that make sense? It takes me further into the past, further into the future, but it takes me away from the present moment. And during that time, all the energy in life that I could be using to live, I'm now caught up in trying to extricate myself from the boogeymen of my past. So I want to give you a couple of readings. The first one is from Untethered Soul. He says, if you're going to go with these energies, look at how when you start to have a thought or a feeling, it could be as subtle as your energy flow starting to tighten or become defensive, or it could be something much stronger. If these energies capture your consciousness and all the power of your awareness gets focused on them, then this power actually feeds them. Consciousness is a tremendously powerful force, and when you concentrate it on thoughts and emotions, they become charged with energy and power. And this is why thoughts and emotions get stronger the more attention you give them. Let's say you feel a little jealousy or a little fear. And if you focus on it, it grows in importance and demands more and more of your attention. And then because your attention feeds on it, it becomes infused with even more energy and draws more attention. And this is how the cycle goes. Eventually, what started as a passing thought or emotion can become the center and focus of your entire life. If you don't let it go, you can get completely out of control. A wise person remains centered enough to let go every time energy shifts into this defensive mode. The moment the energy moves and you feel your consciousness start to get drawn into it, you relax and release. Letting go means falling behind the energy instead of going into it. It takes just a moment of conscious effort to decide that you're not going there. You just let go of that kind of shenpa, that condition of fixation and that need. I have to figure this out. I have to act on this emotion. This emotion is extremely important and significant and needs my attention. It's simply a matter of taking the risk that you're better off letting go than going with this energy. When you're free from the hold that this energy has on you, you will be free to experience the joy and expansiveness that exists within you. So, as long as you have a brain, you're going to have thoughts and feelings come up. It's what the brain does. Just like your kidney generates urine, your brain generates thoughts and emotions. But discernment means discerning what of that is simply the energy of life and what of it has gotten trapped in the unresolved energies from my past. All right. So let's look at that. What happens to all the denied and rejected experiences that we're holding in our body? Simply put, that somatic awareness and experience is walled off from our consciousness. It abides in a no man's land in our tissues, our muscles, our ligaments, tendons, our blood, and our bones, which is what stress disease is, people. The literally organic journey of somatic experience is towards making conscious what has become trapped, what has gotten jammed back on itself, and there it stays. Kind of unhealthy stagnation where in some instances it may become unblocked by a body worker years later or decades later as a release of trauma. But as with our trauma, so with virtually every moment of our lives. The full range of our experience is not admitted, it's pushed back, walled off where it abides, hidden in the body. So this is what's getting triggered. When we talk about a trigger, it means the energy comes in, bam, instead of going back out into the situation, it gets locked into these loops. So today in our meditation, we've done this meditation before, and at that time, I ask you to listen to the voices in your head and begin to notice their quality and their tone. Okay, are they angry voices? Are they shaming voices? Are they fearful voices? What is the language of your self-talk as you sit? Today, we want to take a little different angle and instead let go of the content, okay? What I'm going to encourage you to do when we say treat your thoughts and feelings like clouds passing, we literally mean that there's nothing in it. There's nothing significant in what you're looking at. There's nothing to be prized out. It's simply a thought. It's simply a cloud. It's simply energy that wants to move through. So what we want to feel is how it stays stuck. And there's one energy that wants to keep dealing with it. This is dopamine. Dopamine is what attaches significance to things that aren't important. So I'm going to give you two examples of that before we start. How many of you have gone to Mardi Gras? Am I the only one? Okay. And every year I say to myself, I am not going to go totally nuts chasing beads. Okay. And it takes me about 10 minutes of getting out in the crowd before I'm knocking kids out of the way, grabbing beads from old ladies, running in the street in between floats to get beads. Then I'm walking back to the car with about 50 pounds of cheap ass plastic on a cheap piece of string going, what the fuck am I going to do with this shit? Okay. But that intensity, that meaning in the moment, that catching this bead, getting this hot dog, this moon pie, this whatever it is I'm trying to get off a float has that kind of significance and meaning right in the moment. The same way some of you with shopping, and Drew was alluding a little bit to this. How many times do you go shopping and you something, oh God, I've got to have that. And then you bring it home and you go, I've got 15 of these. Why did I just buy another one? So these are the energies I'm talking about, these repeated patterns where our brain is literally hijacked and we're off in directions that aren't in the present moment. And they can be extremely intense, and part of their addictive quality is this intensity. So as you sit, as soon as you feel that rising sense of urgency, you know you've been hooked. That's the beginning of Shenpa. It literally jerks you out of being on your seat and being in the present moment and puts you into grasping after something, whether it's resolving this issue. So the way we deal with it, instead of resolving, instead of fighting with it, is loosen, create space for it. It's energy that wants to go back to its source. Phew. And the irony is, this is what you say, take it to the Lord in prayer. Well, you know, all these emotions came from life. Give them back to life. Don't fix them. Don't analyze them. Nothing to do with them. No meaning in them. Just let the energy go home. So, lady, one ringy dingy.
Find a comfortable seat.
And just begin by bringing your awareness into the room, using your senses to anchor you in this moment. Beginning to tune into your body, do a quick body scan from the feet up or the head down. Not thinking the body, but just becoming aware of what's going on with my feet. Good morning, how are you? Calves, hey babies. Knees, shut the fuck up, we're sitting anyway. Just settling in to all the delicious or not so delicious sensations the body's generating. In response to the energies of life around you. The internal senses, balance, of your internal organs, of discomfort, all just energy emerging into the field of your awareness. widening and broadening the lens. Resisting nothing, creating nothing. Just the energies of this moment unfolding without effort, without control. Aware of the breath. Just bringing the breath into awareness. Using it to anchor even further the sensations in the nostrils, the back of the throat, the brachial tubes, the expansion and contraction of the abdomen. Just sitting back, watching the energies of the body. Awaken and release. And against the backdrop of this awareness of the body, keeping 20% of your attention always anchored in the present moment, anchored in the body. Begin to watch the emergence of thoughts and feelings. Beginning to explore what we call the body-mind. Thoughts are not something different from the body. Body is not something different from energy. And just as you experience blue as your eyes response to a vibratory pattern of energy, begin to see your thoughts and feelings as responses. Simply energy cloaked. And begin to notice any resistance to certain sensations, to certain emotions, certain thoughts. judgment or criticism. Just begin to see the pattern directly. Thought emerges, an emotion emerges, a sensation, the body tightens. And then watch how the mind starts describing its experience to itself. This is the storyline. Or perhaps you'll feel yourself grasping something. Wanting to do something. And feel the tightening around that. It could be an itch, could be a discomfort to want to shift your body. It could be planning something after you meditate. But again, watch how the energy doesn't simply sit still, but begins to gain a momentum that feeds on itself. Just sitting back and watching, without judgment, without control. Entering a little deeper. Notice that the more difficult ones to let go have tons of information embedded in them about how you should be or how the world should be, with oughts and shoulds. Often with a whole tone of victimization, or righteous indignation, hopelessness. And look at these without labels, but feel the energy in them. The way they demand your attention, the way they state their importance. Notice the changeability. A moment of anger will dissolve into a moment of self-pity, will dissolve into hopelessness. And noticing how there's no intention on your part to think these thoughts, to build this intensity. Notice how they plead a case, making a legal argument against life, against you, the people around you. Notice how repetitive they are. How the script unfolds without you writing it. And when you feel this tightening, begin to breathe into the constrictions in your body. Constrictions in the breath. Resisting the temptation to get caught up in their intensity and their stories. With each in-breath, breathing in space, and with each out-breath, releasing these energies. No need to understand why they're there or what they mean. No need for action. Just trapped energy that needs to release, to go back to the source. Anchoring your awareness in the present moment. Knowing that you're not these thoughts. You're not these feelings. That your energy is the awareness that holds it. Opening your heart and sharing your presence. Not fixing, not resisting. Allowing it to unfold without judgment, without analysis. Simply the energies of life unfolding in awareness, as sensation, as emotion and thought, to be experienced and released, catch and release. Soften, open, and let it go, breath by breath. Okay. Carl, you've been joined by someone. Could you unmute
no.
yourself?
I don't think so. Maybe.
No.
No.
Oh,
Dale and
no, it's
Gina are
Dale
over
and
here.
Gina.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
I'm sorry. Misproceed. Misproceed. Okay. Questions or comments?
It was really a good meditation.
Okay, thank you.
Everything you said almost, it reacted like, oh yeah, I know that. You know, I felt that exactly, but I couldn't voice it as you did. So it really resonated as it would with anybody listening to you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, dear. And yeah, that's just reminded of what we know, and we don't have uh, the continuity of yet. We awaken, we remember it, and then we forget it because this other part of the mind grabs us and hijacks us so much.
That's right. Yeah, it's just-
So we keep coming back to the same thing over and over again. Oh yeah, I used to know that, and why haven't I been doing it? So just keep
Mm,
coming back.
I
Yeah,
will.
good. Anyone else?
This is Carl. I wanted to thank you for the invitation to join you today and thank my sister for my introduction. And my wife would normally join me, but unfortunately she had an appointment scheduled for this morning. But I enjoyed the experience. It's a little bit new for me, and I look forward to meeting with you folks again.
Well, likewise.
Lovely.
Likewise. I love your voice. We sing in chorale, which I had that natural bass quality to it. That was solid baritone.
And thank you, Julie, for
Yeah,
getting you
for
here.
inviting
Yeah.
you. And as we said, this will be posted at some point on YouTube if you're interested in finding it or going back and exploring it some more in depth. Saturday Sangha, Bart Gould, Saturday Sangha.
Bart, the first
Songa, Songa.
PHA.
SANGHA. Saturday.
Okay, thank you.
And on Facebook, there's Saturday Sangha. You can see a few folks show up there.
Okay, Tiff.
I was just going to ask, the first thing that you read, I think you've read from that book several times. Can you refresh my memory? What is the name of the book?
It's Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Linnell, could you, if
Type
it's not
that
too
in.
much trouble, can you screenshot what he read this morning and send it to me?
I got it. I got you covered.
Thank
Oh,
you.
I'll go to the page. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
So Michael is good, and he's one of the people I recommend to my students early for basically a couple of things. The first one is in the first, he really explores that you are not your thoughts, you're not your feelings, you're the witness, you're what's sitting back here watching. And then he does a lot of discussion about this, about how we get trapped in these old patterns in the traumatized mind and how we constrict against them. And so his message is there's no need to constrict. That it's all the defensive part of our brain that's doing that. So those are very good early lessons to learn. So
Yeah, I think the ability to recognize, these are my words, not his, but Pema Chodron talks about this too, to kind of recognize, I guess for lack of a better word, I'll call it a trigger,
right,
and to just recognize like, I have a choice here.
Yeah.
And to, like, remember my story about kicking in the door of the microwave cart. Like, I had that moment of, I have a choice here. And I I went ahead and beat the shit out of the microwave cart anyway.
Yep.
But it's just a very interesting. It's very interesting to me. And for me, I think it is the key. That is very key for me.
Now, you just yada through two really significant points, Tiffany. Okay. And the first one is that first I have to be present in the moment. That's why we meditate.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Because
the
if
reason.
I'm totally tranced out and going through my day with no self-awareness, I don't have any sense of being triggered. There's no reference point that anything's changed because I'm in it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
it
Then
Yes.
you have no choice.
You have no choice because you have no awareness. And that's why it's so unfair to go back and beat yourself up for all your unconscious living prior to waking up. We beat ourselves up for our thoughts and our feelings. You can't do that. That's ignorant in the true sense of the word. If you're ignoring the reality of thoughts and the reality of conditioning, it's only when you begin to wake up that you begin to have a choice. Now, the problem there is that you really don't have a choice yet. And that's where we're going next, is to begin to say how even with awareness, we still fall into the same old loops. So there's a thing called autobiography in 5 short chapters. And the first chapter is I walk down the street. There's a hole in the sidewalk. I don't see it. I fall in. It's dark. I'm frightened. I have no idea where I am. It takes me forever to figure out how to get out. Okay. That's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is I walk down the street. There's a hole in the sidewalk. I fall in it, but I recognize pretty quickly where I am and how I got out, and I get out. Chapter 3 is I walk down the street, there's a hole in the sidewalk, I see it, and I fall in anyway. It's a habit. And that's where we really want to give up, because we can forgive ourselves when we're unconscious. But when we think we have a choice and we still see ourselves failing, you're sitting there with that chocolate cream pie and you're going, I really could have a cup of yogurt. And your brain eats the chocolate cream pie against your will. And we know that moment, don't we, folks?
Yeah.
When we begin to see there's something here, here's my will, here's what I'm intending, and here's what my brain is doing, and they're not the same thing. That is a feeling of powerlessness that emerges at this point. Okay? We have to watch that energy and learn how to diffuse its power a little bit at a time. So taking that gap where we don't act strengthens the part of us that can operate my attention. So I realize I have a little bit of control. I can hold it off.
I hope in chapter 5 we walk around the.
Walk around, yeah. No, chapter 5, we walk down a different street. So chapter 5 is 4 is I walk around the
Walk
hall.
around the hole, then we go different.
Yeah, thank you
Take it
for
different way.
finishing the story for me.
Yeah.
Everybody's sitting there breathlessly going, well, what happened?
Wait.
How many more chapters?
Bart, I'm curious about the difference. You mentioned righteous indignation, and that really, wow, that just like, I wanted to skip over those words and listen to the other ones. And to be honest, because I am having the awareness, like, and I will say, I'm feeling really triggered. Like, let's have the conversation later. There's my grandson. He scared me. But I think that I have some righteous indignation because I am aware I'm triggered, and if I'm not really stepping out until I've cooled off, is it my will or righteous indignation? Maybe it sounds more conscious than the will, I think, can be more habitual for me. But anyway, all of it is a habit, but I'm curious about the righteous indignation. You mentioned it.
Okay. So, and that's a lot of where we're going to be going, okay, is distinguishing these two. So I should have said self-righteous indignation. It's closer to what a lot of us feel, well, I can't believe that this is going on.
We can be angry and love our anger and be righteous in it.
Well, again, anger is a constriction. Okay. It's from a German word, so is anxiety, that means to constrict. So by its very nature, we have to be careful with it. But it has its own archangel, and that's the Archangel Michael. So the function of anger is a third chakra issue, which is the seat of personal will. And the key is to align the energies of that anger for protection, okay, not for attack. And what's become so sad, and I see so many young people who are drawn to leaders who are immature males. They're angry, but they're destructively angry. They're a macho angry. They're an attack, what I don't like angry. Instead of I'm using those energies to protect and defend those that can't protect and defend themselves. I'm here to use those energies to nurture the things around me. So when that personal anger gets aligned with what's sacred in life, and that's where we always have to have humility, then it becomes something very powerful. One guy describes it as I'm in my life with full energy, saying I'm here, and I'm not going to back down. I startled my congregation by slapping the pulpit and going, I'm here and I'm queer. And they're all going, oh, is he coming out? What's he doing? What's going on? But I was trying to say that kind of energy that's now used to express the fullness of my being without apologies, without shame, without aggression, but just the way the birds wake up in the morning. And what are they doing? They're saying, I'm here. Sparrows, I'm here. Cardinals, I'm here. Doves, I'm here. The dog, whoop, whoop, I'm here. We walk through our neighborhood, all the dogs read too. I go, hey, I'm here. They want to be seen. We all want to be seen. So it's that ability. Yeah, great question. Great question.
Well, I felt like this meditation is the reason we meditate, and it does become at some point a tool that we then carry into our daily life, and hopefully it translates that we walk around the hole in the street.
The reason I'm going to quibble, and again, just
Yeah,
a fine tuning, I massage it a little bit, is it becomes a using of your true identity, so that it's not so much a tool as something that's always there, that has a usefulness to it. I'll tell you why I quibble. When John Kabat-Zinn was working with a group of psychiatrists using mindfulness in depression, he said, I have to get them to understand if they're trying to treat depression with mindfulness, it won't work. But if they do mindfulness for its own sake, it will alleviate depression. And that's the paradox.
Right.
That's that subtle thing we had to keep remembering. I can't use it as a tool because then I've got a duality. There's me, the tool, there's what I'm doing here. There's no separation. This way is inviting us to allow what's unified to become unified again. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So it's what I'm not doing more than what I am doing. You're, you're absolutely right. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
Okay. Good questions. Good insights. Anybody else?
I had a super intense high energy week. And it was nice to sit still. And you're about the whole, I'm trying to start this new endeavor, walking around the hole. I might not be on the next street, but walking around the hole instead of starting off like I have before falling into the hole right off the bat. So I like that visual.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Now let me throw one more kink in this for you.
Oh, please don't.
Just as we're about to
Just
feel
sign down.
victorious. Yeah.
Well, no, this may help you even more. How many of you want to be powerful? Power is
Yeah.
always been a critical category for me. You know, I can't just play volleyball. I have to do power volleyball. I can't just lift weights. I have to be a power lifter. You know, everything is about power for me. And I began to this plays in here because there's a difference between power and force. And when you think about it, power is your capacity to transform energy. It's not your ability to control. So when you think about a 200 horsepower car and a 400 horsepower car, which one needs more gas, needs more maintenance, needs to take more things in?
400.
The 400. If you're going to be a power lifter versus someone who's sitting at a desk at a computer all day, who's going to need more calories? Who's going to need more stretching? Who's going to need um, more sleep? Okay. And the thing is that I realized at some point, the flip side of this is taking in more energy, that we're energy processors. We're our awareness is a container that holds energy. And the more energy we cannot constrict against, the more power flows through us. Okay? It's like opening up the constrictions in a stream. So we generally associate power and control with this constricted, tight muscles and fighting against something. But to begin to experience power as an energy flowing from the world through you out back into the world. And I'm sure you've all had in lovemaking and cuddling with a baby, being out in nature, those moments where all the channels started opening up. Have you had that? And you began to feel that power of life. Your high energy thing reminded me of that, Jerry, of having the capacity to have that much energy flowing through you. That's what we're too. Being more alive. That's what we mean by charismatic people. You can see life alive in them, big in them. So keep shining, keep opening. Was that too big a bummer?
That was good.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No, that's okay. That was good.
Good.
Oh, homie. We close.
Okay.
We've got a couple newcomers. So we close with 3 rounds of Ohm and 1 round of raspberry. And the raspberry originated during COVID as the only appropriate response we could collectively come up with. So we've continued it to kind of, how's your day going? Let's get it out at the beginning. Let's leave it here and go out and enjoy the rest of the day. So,
All
Omi,
right. Deep breath in. What did we learn today?
what did we learn today? Nothing.
Nothing.
Hey,
What did we fix?
Yeah.
Nothing. What do we have to do? Nothing.
Thank you for the beginning of the
Thanks.
year, all you give today and being with this group. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Love
thank you,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Love y'all.
Everybody.
Bye.
Hey,
Bye-bye.
Karen, Sue,
Y'all take care.
Ben.